covering technology and innovation throughout the capital city. Welcome to Austin iLab on the new Talk Radio 1370.
Hello and welcome to the Austin Innovation Lab, the #1 talk radio show for entrepreneurs and startup companies in the capital city. You're listening to Austin's Talk 1370. I'm your host, Kyle Frazier, here with my co-host, Stefan Levinsky in the studio. We're here, special thanks to BizTV, our title sponsor, BizTV.com. They're television for entrepreneurs, and they've got a lot of cool things happening. And there's some other places you can catch BizTV. Stefan, what are some of those places?
Start with your cable box. If it's not there, call your cable company and ask them why you don't have BizTV. In the meantime, head over to Ustream.com and you can catch the live stream of BizTV. That's television for entrepreneurs. Finally, if you are a TiVo owner, lucky you, because the programming, much of the programming is on demand. That's BizTV for entrepreneurs like you.
Well, thanks for listening. We've got a guest in the studio who is a repeat offender, serial entrepreneur here in Austin. He's no stranger to the startup scene. We've got Chris McKinzie from Enlyton. But Chris, welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us your story. Before we get into Enlyton, we'll just we'll save the enlightening, if you will, for the second segment here. But tell us your story. How did you get into to the startup scene altogether?
Actually went to grad school at Texas A&M, and after that ended up in New Jersey, of all places, at AT&T Internet Services.
Don't we all at some point end up in New Jersey?
Actually, it's not so bad. Get a bad rap, I think.
Yeah.
But interesting there was, it was when the big data center push was coming in, like 99, and focusing on building out those data centers, and ended up coming up with an idea around, back then it was called ASPs, or application service providers.
What did you study in school? What was your graduate? Was it electric or computer
engineering?
Undergrad.
Yeah, undergrad was finance, and grad school was just general business MBA.
Right on. Okay.
And so, who was building out these data centers back in the late 90s?
There were a lot of the big phone companies were doing it. WorldCom at the time, AT&T, Verizon, but also some startups. And then sort of Rackspace became one of the big ones that's probably local to a lot of folks here.
You were going down the path that you had an idea for an ASP, application service provider, which was the earliest version of the cloud in a sense, right? You didn't have to download software or whatever. The whole application would reside. What was the idea? What was the application?
Well, I figured, gosh, you're just putting all these servers in a big data center. How are we going to get, companies to come and put their software in here? And so we tried to come up with this concept of the ecosystem. What other supporting technologies do you need inside the data center to support the creation of, cloud-based apps, or in that case, it wasn't really called cloud.
Okay, so I was going to ask that very question. Back then, was this, this terminology cloud in existence? It wasn't, right? That came.
No, it was called ASP, or application service provider. But the odd thing, just in a big picture perspective from computing, is you look at the early days of computing. It was a centralized server that IBM had, and everyone would kind of dial into it. Then the personal computer came out and distributed everything. And so the reason for that was really the connectivity. And so, speaking in Austin, things like Google Fiber coming to town really increased connectivity. And so the connectivity component starts to make it easier to say, well, I don't need this machine right here. The machine could be central. And that really changes the whole dynamic for computing and how business applications and consumer applications get built and deployed.
Sure.
Everything's kind of come full circle, because in a way it's one giant client server now. Everybody's just got the little client and they're all connecting into the cloud the way it was at the beginning, right? And we're going to...
Yeah, you think of browsers was a good example, and a big browser war. And why? Well, because the browser is the main window into the applications that you use today.
So what happened next for you up in New Jersey?
Then I got kind of the startup bug, because I went to a small startup space out of Mountain View, California, called Hear Me. It was a voice over IP type thing that got spun out of a gaming company. And then I moved back to Austin at another startup called Agilio.
Real quick, to go back, how did that opportunity come up? You're in New Jersey on the opposite side of the country, and this opportunity in Mountain View came up. Was it a colleague or a friend from college, or what precipitated that opportunity?
Yeah, actually, they had an office in Manhattan,
Okay.
and so I'd met somebody that was working on it, and it was just a really good fit. Had sort of friends with him before I ended up going working over there.
Okay. So quick stop off in Mountain View. What happened there?
The .com kind of thing was going, and they didn't raise enough money.
It was going and going, and then it was gone. So tell us now. Pick up there with Austin. What ultimately brought you here to Austin? And when about?
Yeah, that was probably about 2000. Actually, had my wife wanted to move back to Texas. That's where I met her, and I said, "Well, only in Austin."
Amen.
Yeah, and so looked around and found another startup called the Jillian, who had a lot of money at the time, and that was an interesting experience to say the least.
How did that play
us.
out? Yeah.
We like interesting stories. So let's hear it.
So those in Austin, that was when we were supposed to spend and spend and spend,
Oh, yeah.
and they built their own building, and we went from trying to be
Is that the new homeless shelter downtown, or is that?
No, it's actually a Time Warner. It's up by Time Warner Cable, up by Breaker, I think.
Yeah, north of Mopac. Okay.
Yeah, and it was interesting in terms of the transition. It went from trying to be a SaaS-based software provider to sort of Salesforce for small business.
Which is what defines SaaS, just for listeners that don't have a clue what
It's
that
the
means.
new name of what ASP was. They
Yeah.
started
Right,
calling
right.
software as a service, right?
Yeah. So they used to call it ASP. Now they call it SaaS, or software as a service.
And now they call it cloud.
Which
Now
simply means the software doesn't live on your desktop; it
Yeah,
lives
elsewhere.
Right.
in the cloud.
In
And
the
the cloud is kind of some amorphous place
Out there.
Yeah, out there.
Yeah.
So,
How long did that tumultuous ride last?
That was a little over a year, but it was great because I ended up learning a ton. We took it from 100 and something people. We brought in a new CEO. The CEO left. There was a group, about 5 of us, that ended up kind of holding the company up for a while. We tried to go raise money again. Then we tried to go license.
which there wasn't any in 2001. That's for sure.
And so then we tried to license the technology or sell the company, and ultimately they went over to bankruptcy, and there was this handful of us that met with the bankruptcy judge and handed everything over.
Wow, what an experience! So then the next opportunity, right, had to have come along. Was this one that you started? Is this when you began to start?
No, actually, then I went to SBC in corporate strategy. Really great experience in terms of transitioning the telco into acquiring the full wireless capability of Bell South. Built some strategy around TV. We actually looked at a lot of acquisitions in the television space.
Okay.
But ultimately realized that's how sort of the foundation for Uverse that people are familiar with came about.
So kind of close the loop for us. Bring us up to Enlyton, and then we're going to cut to a break and come back and hear what Enlyton is and does.
Yep. So then I from there we started another organization inside AT&T called Knowledge Ventures. And from there, we started to commercialize intellectual property, and I left and started in 2005 a company called Fluid Innovation that commercialized software-based intellectual property. And one of the companies that came to us to help commercialize was my co-founder, Mark Johns, who had a search technology that had some really great potential. I hired him, and we worked together for a couple of years, and then about a year ago, we spun out together
Awesome.
to start Enlyton.
Awesome. Let's cut to a break. When we get back, we'll figure out just what Enlyton does. Stay tuned.
Have you heard about Biz TV? Biz TV is the home for America's entrepreneurs, small businesses, and those who want to succeed in life. It's the first national television network committed to airing original, high-quality, educational, and inspirational programming about real business people. Small businesses drive America forward, generating 64% of all new jobs in the last decade. With over 30 million small businesses in the U.S., shouldn't you be watching Biz TV? With the right kind of ideas, motivation, and education to help fuel the next generation of business owners, Biz TV is the network you should be watching. Success stories, new ideas turned into businesses, programs full of sales tips, goal setting, how to manage, how to raise capital, and improving work-life balance. Biz TV is for those who want to succeed. Visit biztv.com and call your satellite or cable service provider to request Biz TV.
Well, if you've been paying attention, you are still tuned in to the Austin iLab show, the number one show for startups and entrepreneurs in the number one startup city, Austin, Texas. Welcome back. Kyle Frazier, Stefan Lubinsky. Thanks again, Biz TV. We're with Chris McKinzie from Enlyton, and we are going to learn what that startup is all about. It founded how long ago?
Officially 2011. We spun it out of the company I mentioned, Fluid Innovation, last year.
Yeah, great. And so now let's explain exactly what it is. I know that it's the first cloud-based enterprise search. That's how you bill yourself. What does that mean?
And spell it for us real quick, just so if we want to find you online at enlighten.com, we know how to do that.
Yeah, it's just ENLYTON.com.
Great. And so what is an enterprise search, cloud search? What is it you guys do?
Yeah, so search, lots of people need to find information, and there's so much information being unstructured text that's being published. More and more blogs and all types of content is now digital.
So what is unstructured text? Is that just free flow, like your blog postings or Twitter or...
Yeah, very
social?
good point.
Okay.
Yeah, so unstructured is just free flow text. 95% of the world's content is unstructured. Structured would mean it's organized, meaning a name, a date, a time, a sex, something that you can query that has some more order. And so that's an important part. Is we actually take it beyond just a keyword like shoes or shoelace. And doing a search, we use the full text of an entire document as the search criterion. Some would call that semantics, so called the semantic search. So trying to understand a little bit more about the meaning or the context of your objective in finding information.
And just to make things clear, Enlighten doesn't focus on competing with Google in that you're not a search engine for the consumer. You sell this technology to companies that have a need to search through their own data. Is that right?
That's correct.
Give us maybe a kind of a use case.
Yeah, a couple good examples I'll give you three that are across a couple different spectrums. One's an Austin-based company that has a platform for searching patents. And so a lot of companies, whether you're business oriented or legal, will search patents. And so you might be able to put in a big chunk of text, a patent number, and we'll compare that to all the other patents and bring back the results. And then they publish it in their own application. A completely different one is a company called Dally's. It's a men's fashion retailer. They have a store on Amazon, and what they're trying to do is when you go look for bow ties or tie bars, you might also want some content. So they curate third-party blogs, around the internet and publish that on their website. We actually handle the curation of that and organization component.
But people are still using you're not powering the search in Amazon. They have an Amazon store and they use your technology to curate the content that helps deliver more visitors and conversions against that product.
The content, the articles, if you will, the unstructured text that you might want to learn about how to fold a pocket square, for example. There's tons of articles on this. If you were so inclined, you could go find that on their site. The other one would be a large press release organization that you're about to put out a press release. And one of the things that you want to do is find authors that might be good candidates to write a story. Think about what you would have to do to go through that process. We enable that for that company in one click.
Now, what I don't understand is if I'm that PR company, I'm looking for authors, I guess I'm going to reach out to the internet in the sense I'm going to use some search engine on the internet like Google to be able to search through the vastest amount of data and deliver me back who these authors are. So how do they engage with your software? Is it act as a middle piece that still has to then go out and get through the larger trove of data? Or is it just searching that company's internal database of authors that it has gathered?
A little bit of both. I mean, we actually have, the crawling capability. So part of it is I need to get access to the content. Sometimes content is internal to your organization. Sometimes the content's on the web. Sometimes it's private content. And so we've actually taken our search beyond just, the ability to search. It is a true cloud-based platform that you point us with a URL or a file path to the content, and we actually automatically configure all the software and infrastructure in the cloud that will go crawl that content, kind of download it. We kind of manipulate it a little bit, and then in the way that we need to turn it into a searchable index. So someone can actually then query. Query just means look up or put in a keyword. and get results. And so that's all happens as a service to all of our customers. They just actually integrate that capability into their solutions.
That's great. So this seems like a good application within the context of a larger corporation. If you've got 5,000 plus employees, you've got a lot of turnover, new person sits down to take on a job. And as you mentioned, Google doesn't crawl into, let's say, General Electric's internal database because it's protected, it's behind their firewall. Mm-hmm. But if they were to contract with your technology at Enlyton, they could index all that internal data. So somebody that's sitting down and taking on procurement, for example, may be able to say, well, what were these things purchased at a year ago? What are these trending at? And it's easier to find that information.
You know, the easiest way to think of it is think of creating your very own search engine. Say you had a purpose right now and you wanted to collect a group of content and build your own search engine. Instead of Google, it searches everything. In businesses, you want to search a specific collection of content. What we enable you to do is very precisely define that content, whether it's external, internal, some combination, and cross-reference among itself. So we actually call it, and you can go to our website, BYOS, build your own search.
Now, we keep talking about the cloud. Why is the cloud important as it relates to search, and how does Enlyton fit into what I guess some are calling the cloud revolution?
That's a very good question. Briefly mentioned it before, but it really changes the economics. Think of everyone's got a computer at home, and if you had to go buy and install a new application to that computer, there's hundreds or thousands of people that would have to individually do that. The cloud enables that to be done by, say, one person. So it really saves the cost and the complexity of hundreds or thousands of people doing the same task. And so that really drives the price down, and it opens up opportunities for building solutions.
What about security? If I'm a big company, you're in the cloud. We just talked about, behind a firewall. So we're talking about sensitive information. Maybe I'm a large global law firm. And I have a lot of data that I want to be able to semantically search, right, and get really intelligent results back. You're using the cloud. Is there a concern of mine, or how do we quell the concerns that this information is somehow now going out beyond my firewall into the cloud where other people could access it?
That's a very good question. That's one of the things that we're working on with, we're on Amazon. We're working to migrate also onto a couple of the other platforms, IBM SoftLayer, and potentially Rackspace. And really, they've done a pretty good job of having what's called hybrid. So you have kind of public and private clouds. And so the security part's been kind of, it's a concern, but it's not the number one. The number one is actually reliability. Being able to make sure that in these situations, they need to be reliable and not go down.
That's great. Well, we're going to have to cut you off right there and cut to a break. And when we get back, more with Chris McKinzie from Enlyton.
Stay right there.
Have you heard about Biz TV? Biz TV is the home for America's entrepreneurs, small businesses, and those who want to succeed in life. It's the first national television network committed to airing original, high-quality, educational, and inspirational programming about real business people. Small businesses drive America forward, generating 64% of all new jobs in the last decade. With over 30 million small businesses in the U.S., shouldn't you be watching Biz TV? With the right kind of ideas, motivation, and education to help fuel the next generation of business owners, Biz TV is the network you should be watching. Success stories, new ideas turned into businesses, programs full of sales tips, goal setting, how to manage, how to raise capital, and improving work-life balance. Biz TV is for those who want to succeed. Visit biztv.com and call your satellite or cable service provider to request Biz TV.
And thanks for hanging with us here at the iLab show on Talk Radio 1370 AM, Austin's #1 talk platform, and this is Austin's #1 startup show. And we're back with Chris McKinzie from Enlyton. We were talking about the applications with big business, but this is a startup city, and we are startup junkies here on the show. And so let's talk a little bit about how Enlyton can impact the Austin startup community, existing and, in fact, even starting up brand new, just based on your platform itself. Talk a little bit about that.
No, that's a very good point. One of the key things that we've done is make it ridiculously simple to engage and interact with our technology. most search solutions are very technical and complex. So being able to get non-technical people to interact with our technology, it's somewhat called consumerization of IT. People use Box or Dropbox just because it's easy. And that's something that we've spent a lot of time on. And what it does is it enables anyone to come in. A good example, I think, is broach the subject a little bit about, hey, what if I wanted to create a company about lead generation? Well, take the top 350 law firms, and we can easily go crawl those websites, and now you've got a searchable data set of all the top lawyers, about 120,000 of them out there. That's a great business opportunity to go out and really think of it as Jigsaw, specialized Jigsaw or data.com.
Sure.
Another one that we just did in terms of testing things out was create an app store, AppSense. If you think of it's notorious that the App Store search is terrible. When you're looking, is there an app for that? Well, we actually, in less than an hour, crawled the content on there, and now we've got a completely one line of little script you can put in any website, and it'll say, here's an app for that, related to the content that's on the page. All happens automatically.
Wow, that sounds interesting.
And it has an affiliate program.
Sure.
So you can make, actually, they just increased it from 5 to 7%. So those are areas where we could, heck, we'll give that to somebody in Austin if they want to go run with that.
So you have like a dev set, some sort of something that people here in Austin can work with you, and they can create an application that will reside alongside or on top of the technology?
Yep.
And then how does the business side of that work? I mean, do they have to negotiate out with you, some form of licensing agreement based on use, or?
No, we're really just a utility model. So whatever data set that they create in terms of how big it is, it's a monthly subscription based on the size of that.
Do you price your monthly subscription differently if you're a small little startup versus maybe those larger enterprise clients that are calling on you?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, if there's a small startup that may want to, license or revenue share to buy down some of the monthly costs, we're certainly open to that too.
That's great. So for those listening, again, we're talking about Enlyton.com. That's ENLYNTON.com, Enlyton.com. And these guys are all about semantic search, cloud-based semantic search, trying to get back better results and be able to crawl more information than the Google monster, and more focused on the B2B play. We talked about big companies, but there's opportunities for smaller companies to engage, and even for startups to create applications and work on it. What else do we have to look for? What else haven't we explored about Enlyton that we should know?
Well, we're focused on really making that transition to the sales aspect of things, and so we're really gearing up. By being able to have what we call one-click semantic index and making it simple, we can actually now offer a 30-day free trial. People can come in and in a very short period of time, in a couple hours, have an infrastructure up and running, and data that's searchable in some of our out-of-the-box applications that they can build around. And so that really helps us streamline the sales model and turn it into a repeatable business. And then the other key thing that we're doing is working with the ecosystems of the tier one hosting providers, the IBMs, the Rackspaces, the Amazons, is because people looking to build applications going forward are going to build them in the cloud, and search is a core component in making that transition as seamless as possible.
And let's say I wanted to do a 30-day trial, right? Is this something that your IT professional or on staff has to go in and set up, or is it a pretty simple kind of plug and play?
Yep. All you need to do is determine where the content is that you're looking to search. It's really just a URL or a file path, and how big, an estimate of how big. Those are the only two things. It really is a non-technical thing. All of the infrastructure, you won't even have to mess with Amazon and coding and anything like that.
So the company you spun off of from Enlyton is a company that specializes in identifying intellectual property opportunities, right? Enlyton has some intellectual property associated with it. So how does that fit into the bigger picture for Enlyton? Is it are you guys aggregating IP along the way as you build out this concept, and how does that ring for investors and other potential partners?
No, it's a very, very important question. It is proprietary technology. A lot of technology is trying to build around open source. Ours is really a fundamental innovation in computing in terms of how we run massive amounts of calculations and statistical analysis. And we've filed for one patents so far and 4 provisionals. So we're actually 3, and then we're having a 4th one that we'll be doing very shortly. So we're really excited about that, and making that transition to the sales approach. We will be looking at raising new capital. We've got a great group of investors here in town from CTAN and some Austin Angels.
Would you guys consider kind of spinning off different applications internally that have different audiences? We talked about lead gen. We talked about, so I can see kind of a plethora of different business opportunities that if you weren't waiting for somebody to kind of build it and come to you and either pay you or partner with you, that internally you would say, let's go after this discrete audience right here. Let's put a landing page and just some kind of consumer facing lipstick on it. And let's just sell this for $9.95 a month or whatever it is, and spin off these different verticals. Or is that just too distracting and you need to stay focused on kind of the center, the core?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. We're totally open to people coming in. We have great ideas around that, but it does take you from a distraction. The core in terms of our capabilities, our science is really around the platform. But it's really an open thing in terms of how you can build search-based applications simply.
And is there a kind of a mission Mars for your team? That is, you've kind of built what you've built so far. Is there kind of the DARPA section of your team that's working on what's next for Enlyton's capabilities that we should be waiting for?
It's actually a little different. The core platform is really solid. It's been, my co-founder Mark Johns has spent years kind of hardening it up. What we've spent most of our time on recently is making it simple, hiding the complexity. We're just real big believers in you got to let people, think of the sales cycle, 60%, 70% of the sales cycle now. Companies have already evaluated your technology and have made the purchase decision. And so the easier you could make it from an engagement perspective, the better you are.
Sure. That's great.
Yeah, Google would call that the 0 moment of truth. There's this whole evolution towards, the decision-making process has completely changed in the sales process. Well, Chris, thanks for coming on the show. Chris McKinzie with Enlyton, Enlyton. Tell us real quick, how do we find out more information about you if we're interested?
Yeah, you can go to Enlyton.com. You can follow us on Twitter at Enlyton. You can go to our LinkedIn page or Facebook page, or if you want to shoot me an email, that's fine too. It's just Chris, CHRIS, at Enlyton.com.
So investors out there can get a hold of you and invest some more cash with you, and I guess prospective developers spin your wheels and come up with ideas and spin off some more startups that we can interview.
That's right.
Yeah. We're actually looking at doing for maybe this interns, giving kind of a contest, maybe even roll it out for South by Southwest, where we let people come up with ideas.
Hackathon on the platform.
Yeah, I think that's great.
I love
exactly.
it. Yeah.
So if anyone's out there that wants to get involved in that, shoot me an email. And
Stefan will organize it. So, hey, thanks for listening to the Austin Innovation Lab. Tune in next week for more stories of technology and innovation in and around the capital city.
And that's what's up.
If you know of an innovative company in Central Texas that would like to be featured on the Austin iLab, we want to hear from you. Please contact us online. Our website is austinilab.com. Our email address is austinilab@gmail.com. And you can find us on Facebook and on Twitter at Austin iLab. Join us again next week for more stories of innovation in Austin. Thanks for listening.
Have you heard about BizTV? BizTV is the home for America's entrepreneurs, small businesses, and those who want to succeed in life. It's the first national television network committed to airing original, high-quality, educational, and inspirational programming about real business people. Small businesses drive America forward, generating 64% of all new jobs in the last decade. With over 30 million small businesses in the U.S., shouldn't you be watching BizTV? With the right kind of ideas, motivation, and education to help fuel the next generation of business owners, BizTV is the network you should be watching. Success stories, new ideas turned into businesses, programs full of sales tips, goal setting, how to manage, how to raise capital, and improving work-life balance. BizTV is for those who want to succeed. Visit biztv.com and call your satellite or cable service provider to request BizTV.
Did you know that in Austin you do have a choice when it comes to your utility provider? It's you. Why simply pay for power when you can invest in it? Call Freedom Solar Power and ask about the Freedom Power Plan. Lock in your energy costs today for as little as no money down and $82 per month. Finance the system with your energy savings. Call Freedom Power at 1-800-504-2337 and take control of your energy future. That's 1-800-504-2337.